Hello, Internet, and welcome to the show. My guest today is my wife. We recorded an intro together, and then we decided we didn't really like it, so I'm recording this instead. Enjoy the show! 3, 2, 1, and we're live! Welcome to the Troyan Show. My wife, Amanda. Hi, wife.
Hi.
So yeah, this is the first episode of the Grudge Fern Show with my significant other on. So my beautiful wife, Amanda Dobra Hope. So welcome so much to the show, my beautiful bride. Oh, you're like all shy and quiet. You don't know what to say.
Can't see you, so I'm waving to you, picture of you,
Yeah.
and you're downstairs and I'm upstairs, and so yeah,
Well, you remember what I look like. You saw me earlier.
I do. Yeah, I guess I do.
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff. Like I think I shaved yesterday, and I've already got like the Colin Farrell 5 o'clock shadow. I think just all the weightlifting and like doing a lot more jogging. I think it's just like unleashing my testosterone and just like
Yeah,
making me just like that much more masculine.
probably what it is. Pretty sure.
So, for the folks at home, my wife, beautiful, beautiful Amanda, she is a little bit older than me. I won't say how much, but the age difference doesn't matter. And when we actually went to the fair and played the age guesser game, we actually won a balloon dolphin because they guessed her, much closer to my age, and so that is our little, carnival fair secret. Bluey the
It is.
dolphin.
It is. So I'm totally your age. You see.
Yeah. So, what you up to? What's new? How are things going?
What am I up to? We'll see. Let's see. Since 5 minutes ago, um, what am I up to? I am in the editing process of my, I guess, fifth book at this point, but really the last two have been ebooks, quick read ebooks for Kindle. So three traditionally published, and then two as part of a new series for ebooks. So I am trying to edit the second one. And, you haven't, I don't know if you are going to give me an intro or have given me an intro, but I know that any of my work is probably going to be, I don't know, different for your audience. So I feel like I'm not really sure how to jump into the pool here.
I mean, the format of the show is just talking, so we normally don't have this much difficulty communicating, which is cute. But I don't know. Do you want to just talk about the books?
Do you want me to?
I mean, sure. Like we can talk about whatever we want. We have the freedom to talk about whatever. That's the beauty of freeform, babe. You just talk about whatever. That's why it's so
Right?
great. Um,
Yeah.
Gosh, you're cute. Anyway, anyway, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with. You know what? I think it's best if we go a little bit into your personal history, what led you to the journey of writing. So maybe we should talk about you leaving the corporate world, becoming an entrepreneur, changing your entrepreneurial path, and then how that leads into the book. So let's start with you know, sort of, where you started off in terms of like, coming out of college, working in the corporate world. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so since I am slightly, just a teeny bit older than you, and I know you're going to have all your comments trying to guess then, so we'll just let them guess. I'm not like horribly older than you, obviously, but just a little bit. So yeah, so I did what those of my age group thought we were supposed to do, and went to high school, went to college, because that just was like your only option that you were supposed to do, and applied for all the corporate jobs because that's what I thought you were supposed to do. And so all the things that I currently do and the things that I did before what I currently do are not things that were ever on the list of things that people said, what do you want to be when you grow up? All the things I've done past the corporate jobs have not ever been things that were on that list. The first thing I ended up doing after corporate world was opening a dance studio and becoming a dance teacher, which apparently I decided that when I was 3, when I went to my first dance class. And my mom tells the story, you went to your first dance class and you cried, and everyone goes, oh, because you wanted to be the teacher. So, so yeah, so corporate life. So, I don't even know if you know this story. You might not, but
Ooh.
yeah. So when I went to school, I wanted to move to a certain city after school. So I applied to all these different jobs there and just couldn't get anything. So I ended up finding something kind of close to where I was going to school, just to like be able to still stay out on my own. I didn't want to move back home. I was pretty, independent, self-sufficient, and was not looking to move back in with the fam. So I was like, whatever, I just need to find something that's going to keep me going on my own here. So I had, even though I had a communications degree and a dance minor, um, and a Spanish minor, I ended up doing a human resources um, internship during college, even though my emphasis was advertising and PR. And so I applied for this human resources position, and it was just with this super small firm, but apparently they handled human resources for other companies, and they did like the drug testing and all that stuff. And so I had that job for I think 2 days, because basically what I said is that the guy just wanted me to play with pee all day, and I wasn't really into that.
Yeah, I
So
did not. I was not aware of that.
yeah, I would say that's the job where I had to play with pee. So it only lasted like 2 days, because I was like, I'm not cut out for this. So and it wasn't the kind of human resources job I was used to or what I was looking for. And so that was the end of that. And then I was just kind of desperate to stay there. And I had a friend from the dance team in college who worked at the radio station. And she was a DJ because she had a communications major too. And she said, I think we have an opening in sales. Why don't you try that? And so I ended up doing that. And yeah, so I sold air for a little while. And that was all right until the owner decided that because I was so good at what I was doing, because I didn't sell people more than what they needed, I was honest and kind, and um, I developed all kinds of cool promotions for them because it was a radio station, so we could do cool promos, and I did all the copywriting for all the different ad execs and everything. And I don't know, he got a little greedy and was like, well, since you're so good at sales, we're going to up your goals. And I said, well, that's not really going to work, because then I'm selling people stuff they don't need, and I don't want to do that.
Hmm.
So that was the end of that job. And then I got another human resources job as a human resources manager. So I was like, oh, well, that's a step up. I'll do that. So did that. Well, that was in like a rural area, and the people there, I was in the office. I didn't have to play with Pete. And I had a Spanish minor, so I was actually doing some Spanish translations and things like that. But the office staff liked to party, and they liked to send me to different conferences and things in different cities that I didn't really need to be at. And so after these conferences, they all went out and got horribly drunk. And I didn't. I just went back to my hotel room and wanted to just go home. And it's not that I'm not like, I don't like to have fun, but I didn't really want to hang out with them anyway. And I'm not a big get drunk person. So,
I mean, yeah,
um,
neither one of us are. Like, I mean,
right.
you'll have a blue moon once in a blue moon. Uh,
That's my thing. A blue one wants to blue one.
yeah, like
So
I
yeah,
think the entire time I've known you, I've seen you drink maybe 3 times.
yeah. It's just like if I'm really in the mood, like that one time, even though I can't have gluten, I was like gluten-free pizza and a beer now.
Right?
So, yeah, but it doesn't happen very often. But I'm all about the kombucha. That's my alcohol. Um, but anyway, that's a whole we could go off on that, a whole different story on the kombucha. But
Oh yeah, we could just make this an entire kombucha podcast. That
I,
get that sponsorship
kombucha,
from GTS.
right? GTs, which is funny because that's your initials. So
Right?
kind of silly. But anyway, so yeah, so I was trying to get out of there, kept looking for more corporate jobs, couldn't find anything, kept sending out resumes while I was still working there. It's kind of, just like I needed to get out of there. And the boss called me into his office one day and he said, "You don't like it here, do you?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "You're looking for other jobs, aren't you?" Which I don't know back then how he knew I was, because there was no, people weren't on Facebook and LinkedIn and whatever. And I wasn't doing it on work time. And so I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, why don't we just end it now? Why don't you just go clean out your office?" And so I was like shocked and went and cleaned out my office, half like, went to my car, cried because I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do now?" And then when I finally stopped all that, someone said, "Why don't you start a dance studio? You know, you always wanted to." And after that many months of resumes and whatever else, I didn't have anything to lose. And I had started dance teaching when I was 15 anyway. So I'd already had quite a few years in the pocket. And so I did. And as you know, I ended up doing that for 10 years, had 2 studios, and um, yeah. So that was fun. It was great creatively. It was great with the kids. I had a lot of enthusiasm for teaching and really loved what I did, loved the kids and the adults that came. Taught ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop. We even had Irish and belly dancing at my studio that I did not teach because I hadn't studied those. But anyway, it was great. But then I reached a point where I got really burned out. I didn't have the same enthusiasm that I used to, and I didn't think that was fair to show up and teach. And there were other teachers who still had that enthusiasm, I was just real burnt out on the business of it. And my other calling was sort of bubbling up inside of me, and that's the one I've had since I was a kid, where I would always see the elephant in the room and say, "Hey, can we talk about that thing, that issue, so that everyone can feel better and we can have more harmony and peace and get closer to each other?" And everyone's like, "No, there's nothing to see here, and be quiet." And so that all kind of started coming out, and I took a whole different career path. And again, I feel like your audience is still going to be like, "Well, what is going on here? We don't understand who you are or what you do or what's going on." But hopefully that intro still left some people still here. So this is so different than any interview I've ever done. I've done so many interviews with my books and things. And I guess being interviewed by your husband, who already knows you really well, is a whole different experience. So yeah.
Yeah. I
I can't see you. This is the first interview I've also done where I can see myself, but I can't see you.
yeah. So that's that's what makes it tricky. But what also you spoiled the magic for the folks at home, revealing that I've got camera issues and that the other side can't see me. So you revealed the secrets of the show. No, it's fine. But so part of the format of the show is that it's like a free flowing conversation, so it's not necessarily just a pure interview. There's questions that I ask because the idea behind the show is sort of similar to what Joe Rogan's podcast is, where he just like invites people on that he's interested with, and likes to see what he can pull out of a conversation, what he can learn, how he can grow. And so there's more of a back and forth in that context. And so
Would you like to learn and grow from?
what?
Would you like to learn and grow from today?
Well, there's I think the idea, we'll get into the book about holding space and how the conversation just holds space for wherever it needs to go. Um,
Wow.
but I want to
I
touch.
didn't know
But
that I used to play with pee, so you learned something new
I did
today.
learn something new. So I've grown so much learning that my wife used to play with
I
P.
had to play with pee for 2 days
Yeah, for two
until
days.
I'm out.
But what I would say is, in relation to like the burnout thing, I'm, starting to, really understand that with where I'm at musically, where just, been going at that grind so hard, and this, where I've lost a lot of the passion and the desire for it, and am shifting. I'm still doing it, but to a lesser degree, and I'm shifting into writing, which is kind of ironic because you having the passion for dance, which is sort of like the first cousin of music. When there is music, there is dancing, there is movement, and you really you basically need the two of them together. I mean, there's sometimes people can dance without music, and sometimes you can listen to music without the urge to dance. But they go together so well, and they pair together so well, just like how we pair together so well. But the idea that you have these these sort of mirror sides of the coin, where you have this great desire to dance and teach dance, and I have this great desire to do music. And I've done, like when we had Patrick over, I taught him how to play guitar. So I've done some music lessons. But I think, as we both shifted into the next stage, you moving into nonfiction, me moving into fiction, both writing, both with that desire. But I just find that very interesting. And, maybe I feel like that symmetry brought us together, where I think just, our life paths being aligned in a number of ways. And I just find that very interesting. We're like, it's not even something that we necessarily like talked about too much in the early days of our relationship, but I just feel like we have that symmetry and line up so well in that way.
I feel like in the early days of our relationship, I didn't even still know that I was a writer yet. I think I
Yeah.
had all these things, and I think I wrote. I think I had two books out by that point, but I think it still hadn't clicked that I was a writer. Um, so yeah. And then you kept calling me a writer, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'm a writer. And since then, of course, I've done freelance writing and copy editing for people, and wrote more books, and it's weird because I'll look back in old notebooks and old things that I have, and I guess I didn't ever realize how much I wrote. But I was flipping through some stuff the other day, and I found this really old piece of prose that I was like, oh my god, I wrote that! Wow, that's cool. It was this whole big thing about trees that I'm actually going to type up and try and submit to some places soon, because I was like, wow, that's actually kind of profound. So sometimes I think I just wrote stuff and didn't even realize it came out of me. I just needed to get it out of me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll still find stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's actually kind of a cool piece. I should put that somewhere.
And yeah,
So
that's another parallel that I didn't even think of, the fact that like you write articles and I've also written articles. Mine for music journalism and you for just all kinds of different journalism. But that's another like thing that I as we're talking, I'm realizing that we have that similar. We're like, I mean, I always knew that you wrote articles. We've talked about it, but I've never realized the symmetry before now.
yeah, you did the music journalism. I actually started with mostly arts, like general visual arts and things, and then travel, and of course the spirituality, self help, mind, body, spirit articles. But yeah, I was mostly an arts writer for a long time there. So
We have a lot in common. We should hang out.
you think, totally get married.
So I wanna touch on the books, and I think the best way to do it is sort of in the order they came out. Um, so um,
Puns. I'm touching on the books.
so let's talk about Life Salad, which you don't have a copy of in front of you.
You didn't like the pun?
I couldn't hear it; the audio cut out.
Oh no, I said I was touching on the books because you like puns.
Oh, touching the books. Got it. Touching on.
On your books. I started touching them because
I do like puns, but
you like.
yeah. So let's talk about Life Salad. So I do some hard hitting journalism on this show sometimes. So why did you write a book called Life Salad when you're not that big on salads?
First, I'm going to show it to you. It's invisible because I've lent it to my friend. And so when I went to my bookcase to get it, my one copy is not there. So that's my invisible book. Why did I write a book called Life Salad when I don't really like salad? So that's funny because as you know, I'm a vegetarian, and I don't particularly enjoy salad because it just really doesn't have any calories, and it's kind of like eating water. So yeah, I need stuff with a little bit more punch. So I like my beans and rice and quinoa and rice pasta and things that have a little bit more kick than salad. I eat a lot of vegetables, as Brussels sprouts and broccoli and spinach and kale and all kinds of stuff. But salad, it's just so salady. Um, so why did I write a book called Life Salad? Because it isn't about salad. It's
Is it
just
about life?
it is about life.
Ooh.
It is a spiritual pocketbook, and it is meant to be a quick read. So it's probably going to take you maybe an hour. That's the first book I wrote when I didn't know I was going to be writing books. It was something that just needed to come out of me, and it needed to be out there somewhere. So that one I stuck on Amazon. I didn't even worry about like buying an ISBN and doing a whole deal because I didn't know I was going to be a writer. So it just needed to come out. So I put it out. It's something that you can read front to back. You can just open it to a chapter or open it to a random page and get something from it. But it's about clearing the clutter from what society has told you that you were supposed to be or you were supposed to follow, or like we talked about the corporate thing before, about all the things that you think you're supposed to do, and then you get to that and you're like, what? Is that all there is? Like, really? I don't feel fulfilled. I feel like there's more calling me. So it's to help you peel back the layers of what everybody told you you should do, should be, should act like, and to find out who you actually are. So it talks about taking away the noise, taking away the things in your closet, your inner closet that aren't you, that other people told you to be or to act like, and that you've adopted as yours. But when you look at it and actually, sit with it, you're like, that actually doesn't have anything to do with me. And so it's, getting rid of that stuff. And the reason it's called Life Salad is just, honestly, that was intuition. I just felt like it was supposed to be called that. That's the guidance I got, was to call it Life Salad. It's kind of like, toss the salad of life. So it was just like putting all the different ingredients in and where they all come in and what you want to put on your own salad, I guess. I don't really go a lot in a salad.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
also because salads are light, the book is light, so it's very just it's a quick read.
know. That's totally what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's called Life Salad. It just is. It's catchy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's catchy. I would say Life Salad is very much, and I mean this in the best way. It's very much a chick book. That's the kind of book that like a girl is gonna pick up, and a guy's gonna be like, "I'm too macho for this." Like,
Is it salad?
yeah, because they're gonna be like, if it was called like Life Steak or Life Venison, bro.
Life pork butt or something.
Right. But me, like ironically, because I'm not a vegan, but I probably eat salads more than you do, which is just because you don't really eat salads. Um,
No, salads are so boring.
I mean, I find them tasty like now and again. It's just the problem is I can't like justify like the effort into making it and eating it and just knowing like I'm getting no calories from this.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
just
get
eat an entire ginormous salad and then be like, I'm hungry. That's
what
not fun.
I mean, well, that's how Meatloaf lost all his weight. He ate like nothing but salads. That was what
You just always
Rob
hungry.
told me that when because the story of how the story of how I met, which has been told on the podcast before I met you through Excellent Hair. Rob was the one who told me about like when he auditioned for Meatloaf, and Meatloaf was just like downing salads like King Gurumez from Dragon Ball, and just like
You have to eat like 800 salads a day to feel full.
I guess Meatloaf was doing like the bowl was like massive and gigantic, and he said I'd never seen a bowl that big, and he was just pounding that salad.
It's lettuce, like you're eating water. I don't know. It's just, it's not for me. Anyway, how did we get off on that?
We were talking about Life Salad, the book that you wrote.
Right. And then how I don't know why it's named that. Yeah.
But yeah. So now I think let's get into the second book, Holding Space.
I
Um,
can hold holding space. Check that out.
that is a very excellent book cover.
Cover. I was gonna say, I was gonna give you your props. Just hold on. So this is your wonderful hosts audience, your wonderful hosts photography here,
And the concept.
of my yeah, and your concept, because I couldn't come up with how to put an awesome cover for Holding Space because it's so abstract. So what the heck do you put on a cover of an abstract book? And so this is over some water and my hands and a rose because it's cool. But people have complimented you on it, yes. So you got your props.
Yeah, it's I do have professional photography on my resume because I've got your book cover and I've got those that Darkness concert that I shot. So
There you
there we
go.
go, professional photographer. But I think that holding space is a concept that's definitely very foreign to my audience. I would assume. I'm sure there's a lot of my audience who is really into the self help community. But let's for like the two people in my community who don't know that, everyone else knows it. But just for that small segment of the fan base, why don't you explain the concept of what it is?
Okay, so for the ladies who subscribe to your channel, this book is really well received by ladies. And for the guys, if you want to really get to know your lady, the book. Also read the next one. We'll get to that though. Okay, so Hold in Space. Why did I write it? This one actually was when I became a writer, I guess, for real, or an author. Um, I mean, I was one already. But anyway, this one is published with a publisher. Um, it, again, sort of came out of me. It needed to be written. It came through me. You'll find later that the third book actually had already been in process, and then this one came out in between. Um, but it was written for a few different reasons. One of them is because holding space is a term that is described and tossed around by, self-help people and therapists and nonprofits and whoever. They toss around the phrase, but I found that nobody really defined it very clearly. So I wanted to do that. And because it's an abstract and also a feminine energy, which is something we'll have to talk about, um, it doesn't get its proper due. It doesn't get its proper honor, and people don't recognize. And men, just for the guys out there, men and women both have masculine and feminine energy. So that doesn't mean you're, going to turn into a girl. It means that it's the energies of doing and being, basically, to make it
Are we
really.
jumping ahead to the next book, or are we still like
No,
focused on holding space?
that's in this book too. So we have to talk about it in this book because I do talk about it in this book. So the thing with this book is holding space is a being energy, which is a feminine energy, but we all do it. And so I wanted people to understand how much energy it takes to hold space, because it's not an active thing, it's not an action thing, but it is a necessary thing. I talk about how artists use it. Everybody uses it, but the really easy example I gave is how artists use it when you have to enter that field of creativity first before you create something. So you're in that abstract creative field where you're allowing. So the definition, and you guys are going to love this because it's super abstract. So the definition of holding space is to create an energetic container of allowing whatever wants to be born organically throughout that space. Basically, it's opening yourself up to allowing whatever is best for that situation or needs to come through, or for an answer to come through, and not trying to push, fix, save, solve, action step your way, push through to find an answer. The TEDx talk I did was based on this book. It was called The Power of Being. And so that holding space is not a doing energy, it's a being energy, but it takes a lot of energy, because when you hold space for something, you're not forgetting about it, but you're not sticking it to the front of your head and always thinking about it. You're putting it on what I call that side burner of your mind, and you're holding that space for it. So it's always kind of there with you. You're just not actively having it in the forefront of your mind all the time.
I
So
want
when you
to.
need to,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I,
I was just going to say, when you need to make a decision. So I talk about all the different ways to hold space. You can hold it personally, you can hold it professionally, you can hold space for yourself, you can hold space for another person, you can hold space for a decision that you need to make. So a few different reasons why I wrote it, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
I want to define it a little bit further for the audience, because I know that's a very abstract concept and it can be a little bit difficult to understand. So I want to try to, define it a little bit more. So what I would say holding space is, so this is like, through the guide translation, which the book does a very good job of like explaining it in great detail, but it's a little bit hard to understand just, based on like the elevator pitch. So what I would say holding space is, it's sort of like facilitating and awareness. So an example, so let's say you're having a conversation with a friend who is depressed, and you know that you need to guide the conversation in such a way where they don't just start like beating them up on themselves and like saying things that will hurt them, but you don't want to get like too light either, because that doesn't necessarily like acknowledge the hurt they're going through. So it's more just like paying attention to like what is best for the situation, and then, doing what you need to do as that facilitator as each situation arises. And there's so many different ways to do that. And sometimes that's like, oh, I need to make sure that I pay the taxes, but I have these other things that I need to focus on. So I need to be aware of that and, sort of organize myself in a way like what is going to be the best for the situation, when is the best time to do that. So holding spaces, acknowledging these different situations, and like not just like necessarily knee jerking, but just like sort of looking at the big picture, seeing all the different moving parts, and then like sort of gently guiding it the direction that that situation needs to go. Is sort of how I would describe holding space, and a lot of it is just like being aware, being present. You're still like considering the future, but you're not so obsessed with it. It's more just like a big picture worldview.
Well, yeah. So holding space is the process that you're going to be in when you don't have an answer for something immediately. So, like I said, there's different ways to hold space. You can hold it for yourself, like you mentioned. You can hold it for a friend. You can hold it, for a decision. You can hold it as a professional space holder. But when you're in the process of holding space, you are in the process of allowing. You're not in the next phase, which is the doing. So you're in the being phase. So say you have to make a decision about something and it's a big decision and you don't know what to do. You don't have an answer. So that's where you hold that space. That's where you have it on that side burner in your mind. A lot of times this is that phenomenon when people have the answer when they go for a walk or they do the dishes or something else random where their brain kind of turns off for a little bit and then all of a sudden you get your answer. But if you have it always stuck to the front of your head and you're going to grind yourself about it and get really uptight and tense about whatever it is and insist you have an answer right that minute or whatever, you're not going to get the right answer. That's the thing, is that you're going to have an answer, but it might not necessarily be the one that's best or the one that are going to want later on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the drive-through answer, the
Yeah.
quick food, hurry it up answer, but it's not necessarily going to be the one you may have wanted down the line. And when you're helping the friend, the point of that is to hold space for them without telling them what to do, how to feel, trying to fix it for them. One
Mm-hmm.
of the things I talk about in the TED Talk too is that you don't want to fix, save, or solve people, because when they're having a challenge, it's their opportunity that their life is bringing them to grow or to learn something or become stronger. And so if you dive in and save them from whatever it is, you're actually taking that opportunity away. And then they have to wait for another opportunity to come around. And so I grew up in a family where that's what we were taught, is you jump in and save everybody all the time from whatever challenges they're going through. And, ended up at a life coach myself years ago when she looked at me and said, do you realize every time that you're jumping in to save people, you're taking away this opportunity? And I said, do you mean I'm not helping? And she said, no. And I was like, well, crap, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to help. So yeah, if you're trying to help your friend and you're constantly saving, fixing, solving, instead of just, being present and, working through and maybe asking some introspective questions of them or things like that, but trying to just solve it for them all the time or, put out their fire immediately if it's not. And there's a disclaimer in here too. This isn't for like, if something's an actual emergency that needs to
Mm-hmm.
be physically taken care of right that minute, you don't go, oh wait, I gotta hold space,
Yeah, there's different situations. Like sometimes you need to brute force it, and sometimes you need to hold space. And the thing about holding space is that it's counterintuitive. It needs to be taught. It needs to be trained. And so, because so many of us are just like problem. Go for the solution, and sometimes that's the way
Right.
you need to do things. But sometimes you need to do the holding space thing, which is difficult, and that's why the book is so good because it's very useful in explaining that concept, understanding that mindset, and where you need to go with it.
Well, the thing is that it's not really counterintuitive or needs to be taught, but it is only because our society beat it out of us and took that out of all of us and taught us
It's
that the
it's
only.
counterintuitive for present day.
Yes, because what society taught us all is that the only thing that's honorable and the only thing that's worthy is if we are action or doing, 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 doing. And if we are ever being, there's no room for daydreaming. There's no room for um, just being in that creative space. There's no room for any of that. Allowing, oh no, you don't want to allow something. Even the organic gardening books, tell you how to control your crops. So there's just no allowing anything in our Western society. So that's another reason why I wrote it, is because I wanted to change that narrative and for people to understand that in order for us to balance ourselves and balance the world back out, we got to reclaim the honor in that feminine energy of being and allowing, because we can't just keep pushing everything all the time, because that's what got us all out of balance in the first place. So.
You really should expand more on that whole like masculine feminine balance. I think that might be. Oh, whoa! What's that? Is that another book that dives
Oh,
into that topic in detail?
it is.
What a
It is.
transition!
I know, right?
Fun book
Another
cover.
lovely cover. Yes. So this is my concept, but your cover. And it's not really. I can't even claim credit for the concept, because this concept was given to me intuitively. I was shown a vision of exactly what the cover was supposed to look like. It was supposed to be a red head and a blue head looking at each other with red and blue paint strokes kind of melded together in the background, and that's what it is.
And I am
Um,
not that great with graphic design, and that took a long time to do.
but you did a good job, and you were able to do what I needed and wanted and saw in my vision without me having to pay $1 million to somebody else every time I needed to change it. So, so it tanks. Um, but yeah, so this one talks about it's called The Healing of the Masculine and Feminine, How to Truly Change the World from the Inside Out. Oh, by the way, the last one was Holding Space. Excuse me. A guide to supporting others while remembering to take care of yourself first. So back to this one. The healing of the masculine and feminine. So, like I said earlier, we all have masculine and feminine energies inside us, whether we're men or women, or you know, what are the two spirits? I'm going to use the word two spirits. I talk about that in here. So whatever we identify as, we all have masculine and feminine energy. It's duality, it's polarity, it's all of that, and we have to balance it back out. And it is really super unbalanced in the outside world right now, also because it's really super unbalanced in our inside worlds right now. So again, it relates to that feminine energy and needing to go back and reclaim that inside of ourselves. I was on a men's podcast one time, and the guy said, does this mean we need to go out and pick daisies? And I said, no. I had this idea, or this vision in my head of the guy with like a little basket, skipping through the field. And I said, no. I can't imagine any big burly macho guys, especially hard rock and macho guys in the field picking daisies. So no,
I
don't
would
do
pick
that.
daisies.
I mean, you would, but you also like Frozen.
Right.
So.
Well, I'm very like there's a degree of feminine stuff I'm comfortable with. Where like I'm maybe not comfortable with like Barbie necessarily, although Barbie Nutcracker was actually a pretty good movie. But I feel like I don't want to close myself off to just like good entertainment and good art just because it might be targeted towards a female audience.
And you're even saying feminine stuff, and that's the thing, is that still our narrative is still messed up about that, because if we all have this masculine and feminine side doesn't mean feminine stuff. It means feminine energy. It means, again, that energy of being. So things that are feminine energy, relationships, creativity. If any of your audience is musicians, they're all creative. If they're artists, if they're business owners, if they're writers, if they're a bazillion things, photographers, they're creative. So there's that feminine energy right there. I'm trying to think. Holding space is feminine energy. Allowing, just. I'm not
Basically,
even.
the feminine is the creative energy. It's the relationship energy. It's sort of like that
Yes,
being. It's that energy that sort of like what makes us human. Like that, that sort of like abstract concept of just like love and just feelings, emotions. That's more the feminine versus masculine is like I'm going to build the building. I'm going to get the stuff done.
Energy is that doing. So feminine is the being energy, masculine is the doing energy. Masculine energy is going to be like structures and academia and plans um, and manifesting things in the physical. Whereas in the feminine, you're working with all of the moving parts, and you're trying to bring them down to some sort of physical, manifestation of whatever you're imagining. So an easy thing is when you're writing a book, you're in the feminine energy. When you're typing it, publishing it, marketing it, everything, that's the masculine energy. And you need both, because if don't do the feminine energy, how are you going to write a good book? Your
Yeah,
book's
the
going to
feminine
suck.
is where the creativity comes from, that spark, where you get that idea and you're like, oh, I need to write that song or I need to write that book. Like when you just get that burst of inspiration, that is the feminine, and you need to allow the feminine to do its part first. So then you can, craft it with the masculine to, bring it into the world.
Right. So if you just use the feminine, then your creation's never coming out into the world. If you just do the masculine, your creation's going to suck because you didn't allow it to become what it wanted to become. You're just thinking in money and dollar signs and marketing and whatever, and you're not writing for the purpose of why you're trying to create that thing or art or whatever. You're writing with the intent of marketing it or whatever, and it's not going to have that same substance to it. It's just going to be sterile. So anyway, so no, not picking daisies because that's not what it means to reclaim that feminine energy. It means to be okay with, a lot of what I go into is how women were allowed during the women's movement to go into workforces and reclaim their masculine side that they had not had access to societally for a long time. But men have still not been allowed that. Men are still not allowed to really access that feminine side. Still, boys don't cry and man up, and
Hmm.
uh, oh, I can't explore my feminine side, and I can't like Frozen, and or people don't want you to, or whatever. But it's men have still not been allowed that. So unless it starts becoming cool, which it is starting to, and there are more high-profile men who are, you told me about Snoop Dogg sitting in his car crying to let it go or something.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah. So there are more high-profile men who are starting to just own both sides of themselves and show people that I think Russell Brand and one of your faves, The Rock, and a lot of those guys are really starting to be those kind of role models that will hopefully help to change that narrative. But it's hurting everybody that the feminine energy and the feminine, however it is being embodied in the world, whether it's through women or indigenous cultures or um, arts and creativity or whatever, it's hurting everybody that is still dishonored and that the masculine is honored. It's hurting the males as well because they can't be whole. They can't explore those sides of themselves, and they have trouble in relationships and just life things and creativity and things that matter as a human to your life quality. And so it hurts everybody that masculine is so the masculine energy is so exalted and the feminine energy is so shoved down. So I don't it's not a feminist book because it's not about women. It's about how we need to reclaim and re-honor the feminine energy inside of all of us and how that may show up if we're embodied as women, if we're embodied as men, how culture and society has shaped us and treated us if we're one or the other, and how we can't really change that outside world until we start changing the inside as to how we treat those sides of ourselves and whether we're willing to reclaim and re-honor the part that society has shoved down and gotten out of balance with. So
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about the general frustration of the populace, where there is so little trust and faith in institutions across the board. And I think, the institutions have in many ways become, very sterile, very structured, and they're in these sort of feedback loops that are sort of leading to the destruction of themselves, of those institutions, and, like hurt in society. And we need the feminine to come in to revitalize with creativity, recognize, where these patterns aren't working, you have like the Wall Street speculators, speculating on dangerous things that always end up crashing the economy, and you need to break them out of that cycle, or the colleges just raising the tuitions, not recognizing how unsustainable it is, and just these unsustainable cycles that are just in this, masculine doing, 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 not looking at the big picture. And so you need that feminine to come in and say, with that creative energy to recognize like where the shift in society needs to go. Um, so I just wanted to like acknowledge that, like, don't get me wrong, like I love the masculine energy in enterprise. Where like I think that academia can be pretty great. I love scholarly analysis. I love getting in the weeds on that stuff, but I'm recognizing how these certain structures are just caught in this Ouroboros loop where it's just they're eating themselves. And so we need to get in that fresh creative energy, because I feel like these institutions are like going at this pace where they're setting themselves up for collapse. And so I think the feminine energy is super needed in the world right now.
I mean, yeah, it's not an accident that this ended up coming out when it did, which was in March of this year, right as right as COVID hit. Even though it was in process for probably a decade, like I said before, Holding Space even came out. Um, it's this is kind of my baby.
That feels like it came out so long ago.
I know. Um, but the thing is that the other thing I go into is that the the world and our Western society has tried to solve issues and bring in these task forces and things that all try to solve the problems from the outside in, but that's not where the problem is. It's just let's apply more doing, more fixing, more saving, more solving in the same masculine energy. But it's not ever going to solve what where the root cause is, which is that imbalance of the two energies. So um, it really just talks about how we have to balance that inside of us in order to then, when people are more balanced on the inside, they're going to make decisions on the outside for the bigger world that are more balanced as well. I talk about companies and whether or not they're sustainable, and if they're considering the effects of their choices ahead of what's it going to do to, it's a seventh generation principle. What is, if we do this now, how's it going to affect people 7 generations from now?
Mhm.
And my gosh, in the world that we're in
Most
right now,
companies don't care about that.
exactly.
Most companies are just like for the bottom line, whatever's going to get them the most profit now, and it's at the detriment to all of us.
To all of us, because it's not creating a good culture, a good work culture for the people that are employed there. It is ruining, the earth. I mean, we're in a, I don't have to tell everybody where we're at with, the earth and things. We don't, that's what I was gonna say. I don't even know if we have 7 generations anymore to
Yeah,
think about.
and
But
even if
think
you're
about,
just like in a purely pragmatic sense, like for those who are just like, okay, I can't grasp onto a lot of this from like a pure guy sense. But you should still be open to the feminine. But from a pure guy sense, if you look at everything of just like
don't have feminine.
if you look at everything, it's just like, what's the immediate solution? What's going to, be the thing that's best in the immediate? If you look at, let's say, trade with China as an example, and you've got for short-term profits, you will make more money if we produce our medical equipment overseas in China, because it'll be cheaper to produce. But what does that mean? When there's a supply line issue, we're going to have to be beholden to the Chinese government, because their economy and government are one and the same. And so if they don't want to give us the medical equipment that we need during this crisis, or if there's a slowdown or something, like, we don't have the infrastructure to make it in America. And so that short-sightedness of just like what's going to get me the quick buck now isn't thinking even like 5 years down the line, let alone 7 generations. And so when you apply that to the environment and just how things can get polluted and destroyed, and what's going to be left of the planet, like, that's why the feminine is important, because you have to consider not just what is going to be best for you in that immediate, giving you that immediate satisfaction, but like, what are the ramifications of your actions? What is the bigger picture? And so that's me trying to bring the guys back in who are just like, I'm lost. So that's like my bone to
Well,
them.
it's political, yes. I mean, another thing I can put out there is there we're in a highly, Western masculine energy dominated society. All of us are, um, females and males, but there is a culture out there. There are a couple cultures out there that have been holding that feminine energy all this time, and they've been shoved down. And those are the people who know how to work with the earth, who know how to work with cycles. It's a lot of indigenous cultures and things. And because they hold that feminine energy, they've also been shut out of Western society. And so, there's I don't even know where I was going to go with this, but we have to bring all that back too. It's just we won't, because a quick buck is what. Oh, I know what I was going to go with that the prophecy, or the saying about how someday all the trees will be gone and the waters will be polluted and this, that, or whatever, and people will finally realize we can't eat money.
I mean, yeah, it's a great saying. Um, so I think we've touched on masculine, feminine. So what about the ebooks? You've got a couple ebooks.
The ebooks are going to be not quite as meaty. They're a little bit maybe better intro. Like these two books too are written. They're not just written for people who are used to reading nonfiction, self-help, mind, body, spirit kind of books. They are written so that a beginner can grasp the concepts, but they're also written so that I'm not insulting people who are used to reading these kind of books.
Yeah, they're
So
written
there's
so like a guy like me can understand it and articulate it.
right, but they're written for people who have studied these concepts and want to really go further into some of the things too. So
So it's
people
for
are going
it's
to be
for
at
beginners and longtime fans.
people are going to be at different points with it. Like I talked to somebody who said that she's only on page 19 because she has to keep rereading every paragraph because there's so much in every paragraph. And that's fine. And then there's people who, you know, read it in all different ways. There's people who are getting new things out of it, even though they've studied things for a long time, because there's different concepts that maybe aren't going to hit the beginning reader. But other things will hit the beginning reader. So they're not written in some kind of like crazy academia language that people aren't going to, it's going to be too removed for people. But the ebooks, the series is called How to with Love. And the first one that's already out there is How to Love When the World's Gone Crazy. That one, crazily enough, I put out a month after this one, because it's a whole lot easier to publish a Kindle book than it is a traditionally published title. So that's out. And then the second one I'm finishing up on is How to Tune Into Your Intuition. And there will be more, but those are all, you can read them in 30 minutes to an hour. And they're laser focused on one particular topic. So
Yeah, you're making me feel like I'm falling behind on my books where I haven't even gotten one done yet. But I did just officially begin the transition to writer mode this year, so I got to catch up with you.
well, we've known you were going to do that for a long time, so that's not a shock. But I also think that around your age is when maybe that calling we've had since we were kids, that maybe we didn't allow ourselves to explore, or maybe we had to explore the other one first to get it out of our systems, or to just fully explore that part of ourselves. And then, probably that part that's been living in us a lot longer needs to be looked at, needs to be expressed, needs to be explored. And that's when I shifted into doing the speaking and the writing and coaching. I'm also a life coach, holistic life coach, with the things that I do now. So it's that little girl in me that always wanted to get to the truth and to help people have, like, my thing that my little elevator, sentences are that I help people have better relationships with themselves, the people around them, and then the world around them. Because it's so important to me to help people have better quality relationships, because there's so many things that I see people go through that they don't need to go through, because they don't know how to own their stuff. They don't know how to do their personal growth work. Because why? Because society didn't ever encourage that. Because society encouraged us to not know ourselves at any cost and just follow the status quo. And so, if anything, with all this upheaval right now and people forced to be in their homes and whatever, it's a great time to start doing that self-reflection, because, people's lives are upheavaled from what they thought they were going to be. Structures are crumbling. People are seeing the illusions. They're seeing the lies. They're seeing that they can't trust authorities they thought they could trust, because there's corruption and whatever else. And so the books that I'm writing, things like the How to Tune Into Your Tuition, it's how to, I open the book talking about how to, you want an answer to something or you want to solve an issue for yourself and you look to these outside authorities and everybody's saying something different. And it's not necessarily what's going to work for you anyway. So when you tune into your intuition, you can find out what's going to work specifically for you, but also if you're supposed to be going towards a certain authority and their method because that method's what's going to work for you, well, at least you'll know where to go and you don't have to open up your computer and sit there for a solid day and then just have your head spin and be like, I still don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that through holding space for yourself, through meditation, through like honest self-reflection, you'll find whatever path that you're supposed to be on. And I feel like I found that, I mean, I always sort of knew it, but like I feel like I picked the right year to retreat internally and work on writing during the year of like the pandemic where everyone is forced to like retreat inside anyway. Like, if I hadn't done that personal shift of just like, okay, I'm still going to do music, but I'm going to adjust the amount of time spent on it and the amount of effort put into it. And, like if I hadn't done that already, and I was still like pushing hard, this year would be like a nightmare and might have psychologically broken me. But because I was
Well,
already in that stage,
and-
like, the timing
yeah.
was good.
Well, so you said pushing hard. And so what is this time telling us? That pushing hard doesn't necessarily bring us what we want or need anyway. And there's so many people who, like I said earlier with the corporate thing, they push hard, push hard, push hard because that's what society told you to do, or that's how you're going to win. And then you're done pushing hard, and all of a sudden you realize everything you actually loved got thrown away because you were pushing so hard for what you thought you were supposed to do to win. And then you found out you lose because you followed this prescribed thing and you were blinded to the rest of your life that was going on while you were pushing so hard for what you thought you were supposed to do.
I mean, I still believe in pushing hard, but I believe in a balance. So like, I'm not going to go full on David Goggins with it, but I do think that pushing hard is important, but you have to like find out like what is optimal. So and what is going to be the most loving for those around you. So should you push hard? Yes, but not at the expense of your relationship, not at the expense of how you treat others. You should find the way where you can get the best of all worlds. And you know this that I don't always succeed with that. But I am a I am a work in progress. We're all works in progress, and I think that we communicate very well. We love each other. Acknowledge that. You acknowledge me trying, and you acknowledge that we're not going to agree on exactly everything. But I think if we agreed on everything, that would be boring. And I think that dynamic between us, keeps things engaging, keeps things interesting. Um, but I think you're absolutely right. This is sort of like the stage in your life where you move on to whatever was like the truest at your core childhood soul. And so for me, that's writing stories because I was so inspired by the books that I read and the Final Fantasy games that I played. And so I would like to, if you would like to, would you like to talk about Final Fantasy on this podcast?
Sure.
So tell the viewers at home your experience with Final Fantasy.
Okay, so you lied to me, is what happened. Well, first of all, you didn't lie to me. First of all, you tried to get me to play Final Fantasy VIII,
Well, no,
and
we got to back
we're
up.
going to talk about me running around the library. So
Well,
first, you tried.
we got to back up about why you even wanted to play Final Fantasy VIII. So you
I
know
don't. Why did I want to play Final Fantasy VIII?
because so there's a famous musician called Scott Fernandez. He's internet
Oh,
famous,
right.
and
Scott, you wouldn't shut up about he borrowed your copy of Final Fantasy
yeah,
VIII.
and he didn't give it back for like 3 years. So he had my
And
copy of Final
you
Fantasy
not
VIII.
stop talking about it, and you drove me flipping nuts about it. So when you finally got it back, I'm like, let's play this damn game because I want to find out why you wouldn't shut up about this for 3 years. So you let me play, and basically, for anyone who knows Final Fantasy VIII, I ran around the library, and I had fun running around. So I was just whatever the guy's name is. I don't even know. I renamed him, but whatever his actual name is, and I just took him and I just ran around the library because I thought it was fun to run in a library and because you aren't supposed to run in the library. But anyway, so I was just being stupid and just running around the library. And then I was bored. And I was like, okay. And I walked around the little space capsule or whatever they lived in for a little while. And I was like, what is this?
And
I
you
don't like
fought a
this.
T-Rex.
Yeah, no, not really. Because
I mean, you
they're
lost
like,
to the
do
T-Rex.
that. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't want to fight this T-Rex and whatever. So that was just dumb. And that was the end of my RPGs. And then you came to me one day and said, hey, do you want to try playing this game where this boy wants to go to a concert? It's really cute. And I was like, well, a boy wants to go to a concert? All right. So enter Final Fantasy IX, which the boy is not a boy.
Well, he's a boy. He's a little boy.
Okay, fine. It's the black mage that doesn't have a face, so I don't know that he qualifies as a human boy because he doesn't
Well, he's
even...
not a human boy, but he is a boy.
Oh, okay. Fine. Anyway, he wasn't going to a concert. He was going to a play. And so you sold it with this, like, excitement because, of course, I go to concerts with you, and I like concerts, and I like the same classic rock music that you do. Not all the same, but, some of the same. The really good lyrical stuff with the good...
Like AC/DC.
No, AC/DC, as you know, is my guilty pleasure because I hate music with raunchy, terrible, horrible lyrics. Hate it. But I just really dig their beats and like the high tone of the singers. I don't know. I dig it. I don't know why. Hate their lyrics. Absolutely hate them. So I can't listen to it very long because it drives me nuts. And it's the only band I'll even listen to with the horrible lyrics. But anyway, I know everyone's going to jump on me now in your comment section, but I'm prepared. Be nice. I'm Greg's wife. Okay. Anyway, but no, I'm all about like Styx and Rush and all the classic rock bands with like the awesome lyrics. Just
And
Led
yet you
Zeppelin.
don't listen to that much Thin Lizzy.
I mean, it's all right. I do, but
You
is
listen
it my
to it because
favorite?
I put it on.
Yeah. Um, but I'm into the classic rock stuff. Not so much the hair bands, but anyway, so concert. So I was like, okay, boy going to a concert, I can dig this. No, you lied. Anyway, then I became attached to this endearing little thing, and I renamed all the characters, but I refused to do battles. So that's why we play together, because you do all the battles, I hand over the controller, you do the battles. I really like because I like finding truth and puzzles and getting to the root of things and why people act certain ways and how things work and psychology and all that stuff. So
And
I like
personal growth.
Yes, and so I like RPGs for that reason, because I like going through that or the strategy of different puzzles and things. And I like to figure out the shopping, like, what do we need for this and how much of this do we need and what are you going to use? And it's interesting because you're doing the battle, so you're using all the stuff that I'm shopping with, but I'm having to make the decisions on what you're going to use. So we do that, and then I get to do all the exploring, and then if I hit a random battle, I just hand it over to you. So that started... How many have we played now? Like 12 different RPGs or
I'm trying to
something?
think. Okay, so I'll list them off. You count with your fingers.
But there's just a lot. That'll bore
Final
you people.
Fantasy 3, the Final Fantasy 4 trilogy, 5, 6,
Okay. Anyway, a lot of RPGs. So Star Ocean and
3 Star
and
Oceans, Radiata Stories.
stories and whatever. Just too many. Like, I don't even know how this happened. So, because I don't like video games. I don't like button mashing. I don't like platform games. I don't like any of that stuff. And so I really only play these for the exploring and the puzzles and the story, and then I just hand you the thing. But anyway, I'm into these because you lied, basically.
I mean, look, it turned out okay in the long run. You've got some fulfillment out of it. Like, you cried at the end of Final Fantasy 9 because it was just such a beautiful, heartwarming ending.
Yeah, I know. Also, there's a lot of areas in a lot of these games that
They're very emotional. And
no,
there's a lot of personal growth for the characters.
there's a lot of that, and those are the good parts. But there's a lot of parts in a lot of these games where, I've rage quit a few of them for
It's like
questions.
AC/DC lyrics, but in a game form.
Yes, so there's a lot of them that I've rage quit for things like that. There's ones that I haven't rage quit, but I've been like, I don't like that, but I really like the rest of it, so I'm going to keep playing. Yeah, so they've been a little AC/DC in that regard. But we're just going to use AC/DC as a marker of comparison with these things. But yeah.
I mean, I've never heard someone compare Final Fantasy to AC/DC before, but we finally did it. So go us,
Someone had to do it, right?
right? So we're gonna play Final Fantasy 9 again. Are you ready to start that?
Yeah, pretty soon, yeah.
Pretty soon, yeah.
Pretty
Uh,
soon, yeah.
Disney Plus first or Final Fantasy 9?
I don't know. Depends what mood I'm in.
Right. So, man, that is a transition. So moving away from the Final Fantasies, is there anything else you want to touch upon? Is there anything that we haven't touched upon? So,
Audience, audience, my husband has called me the dentist of books,
I
right?
love you, babe.
Like you don't want to go to the dentist, but you need to, right?
Right.
And I'm like, we need to change that narrative too, because what I want all your listeners and everybody else, the reason I do all this stuff is for the same reason I got that review that I wasn't expecting from somebody I don't know who they were that popped up on my Amazon listing today or yesterday and said, I was skeptical because I don't know this woman, I don't know the author, I don't know her work, and I picked it up anyway, and she obviously has spent years learning how to hold space for people and honing her craft, and I don't write reviews, but I did because she deserves it. And to get a review like that is like, dang, this is why I do this, is because I care about people being able to have good relationships with themselves and their families and their spouses and their kids and the world around them, and for the people for things to be harmonious. There's just too much suffering out there that doesn't need to happen. And our society, the way that it trains us to behave and to act and to judge ourselves and to try to be things that we're not, and to push one side of ourselves while shoving down the other side of ourselves and saying it's not important. And same thing with society. This part of society is cool, the other side of society is terrible. It's everyone's living in this prison in their own selves because they're buying all that crap. And the only place that you can find information like this is people who write about it and people who speak about it and people who have groups about it or courses about it or whatever. But it's not mainstream stuff. But whoever it is that can find it and whoever it is that can benefit from it. This woman talked about how she refers to it all the time and it's helped her in so many of her relationships. And that's why I do it, because I care and because I've been in all these, not all of the places, but I've been in places where I've gone through some of these things, and I come out on the other side, and I want to give people the benefit of what I learned, and just because I am interested in what makes people tick and what's underneath what seems to be the problem. There's so many things. People project their crap on other people when they don't do their personal growth work, and it starts fights, and it doesn't need to, because it's something they need to look at and they can get rid of and they can solve, and then they can relate better with the person. And there's just too many broken families and broken marriages and broken people themselves that just don't have to be that way. And it's because the mainstream information is just wrong in most cases, and it teaches us to not honor or value all the different parts of ourselves, and to push when we don't need to push, and to judge ourselves. And I'm on a soapbox, a really bad one, but I just really care.
No, and I love you for that. That's one of the things I love about you is your passion and that your heart is in the right place.
It's not as fun, I know. It's way more fun to get dressed up and go to one of your shows and just rock and whatever and yeah, and do music and read fun books and play RPGs. And I have all those sides of me too, obviously, or we wouldn't connect how we do. And you have your serious sides too. So yeah, it's I don't want to say my stuff is heavy and that it's not as fun and whatever, because I don't want people to think that doing that inner work is something you should run from because it's yucky or it's not going to be fun or whatever. Because when you start doing it, when you start doing a little teeny bit of self-reflection or a little teeny bit of meditation. By the way, if you've never done it before, I always say just sit still for 5 minutes a day. See if you can do that, and that's all you need to do.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I
I
would,
don't.
and for the like the super masculine guys, I'd recommend Sam Harris has some guided meditations. That dude is like polar opposite of my wife in a number of ways, where he is just full on like masculine academia, like very much an intellectual, in like the traditional sense of his like scholarly kind of thing. And so if he's like, dude, you gotta do meditation, like you gotta do meditation, and he will present it in a way that'll perhaps be for the more masculine minded folks, because I had trouble getting into
Well,
meditation until I started listening to him do it, and he worded it in a way that made sense for my macho brain.
well, and that's the thing is that both sides are talking the same language. All the stuff that I talk about has been proven by scientists and quantum physicists and everything else. I mean, the stuff that I study and the stuff that I write about and speak about, it's not like complete feminine woo woo energy. It's stuff that, I mean, there's a group called Heart Math that actually has all kinds of scientific tools and measurement things and whatever, and they measure things. There's scales that measure the energy of the earth. Just like a Richter scale would measure an earthquake, there's something called the Schumann resonance, which measures the energy of the earth. It's all scientific too. Like I never went in a direction that it's only feminine energy. It's always that balance, and the stuff that I study and the stuff that I teach is a balance of both. And everything that I talk about, that I talked about in my TED talks, it's science and spirituality without the religion. It's science and the abstract and the non-physical. It's the sun and the moon and the night and the day and the Eastern medicine and the Western medicine. It's all of it.
I'm actually glad
So
you brought up medicine, because I think that's a way you maybe should look at your books, where like like the cough syrup medicine that like isn't the most fun to take, but it is so much better than that cough. Like I think maybe that's like how one could look at the books, where it's like because a part of life is like you have to do stuff that isn't fun. You have to put in the work, and personal growth work is actually super super important. People don't realize how important it is. So you have to not be
so
afraid of it being tough and just go for it.
well, that's the thing. If all your macho guys and all the people that want to do the do and only believe in the do masculine energy, well then do masculine energy personal growth. Go for it.
Yeah, like bro, like if you want to be like a true like bro and be really hardcore, you gotta meditate. I mean, otherwise you're just a little wimp who's afraid to look at yourself. So come on, bro, meditate, and then go lift, bruh.
Is doing the spiritual weightlifting, the inner weightlifting. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, no,
you
if you
gotta
want to
like
feel
meditation is reps
hardcore,
for your mind. You just gotta
that's
do
right.
reps for your mind. Make sure
That's
your
right.
mind is hard and strong like Goggins.
So people do Tony Robbins and all that stuff, right? So they're doing all that mind work, but
Do
it's
Tony Robbins and David Goggins. Do
but
both.
mind, body, spirit, right? So if they're doing the mind and the body, you can't leave out spirit. And the problem with this is that a lot of people think spirit means religion. And for those of you who are non-religious, it doesn't. Your spirit is your life force, your being, your everything about you. It's not religion. Those of you who are religious, awesome, do that. My thing is, I'm a minister. This dude's married to a minister. I am a minister. It came out. I'm non-denominational, super non-traditional minister, but I'm a minister. And so I work with people who are religious, they're non-religious, they're atheists, they're agnostic, they're religious but not, or sorry, spiritual but not religious. Um, all different things. It doesn't matter. Whatever gets you where you need to go, whatever gives you your answer, we're all going to the same place. We're all trying to find the same answer, and we just have different ways of getting there. Some of us do glam rock, some of us write books and do hip hop dance, which I also do. So
The
um,
hip hop minister.
that's right. So you can be a hip hop minister, and to be real here, to get into realness and not promoting books and whatever else. If anyone's still listening or watching this, it took me a while to be okay with that, to reconcile that within myself, that I could be a hip hop minister. It's like, when I became a minister, I thought I had to, even though I'm a mobile minister, I don't have a church or a, congregation. I'm just doing coaching and spiritual counseling and writing books and things that are non-denominational of any denomination whatsoever, because my religion that I am ordained under and a part of and went to school for allows me to do that. And it's a science meets spirituality, but okay, whatever, it's metaphysics. So there you go. Most people don't understand that, though. So if you do understand metaphysics, then you'll get that I went to school for that too, because I wanted a broad-based spiritual education that didn't have dogmas and didn't have specifics and didn't tell me what I needed to believe. And I could, look at everything and take from what worked for me. And so my belief is, if you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting somebody else with your beliefs, and it's about love, then go for it. If you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting somebody else, go for it. Whatever path you want to take. But I work with all different people. And so yeah, it took me a while. I thought I had to have act a certain way. As a minister, I had to hold myself to a certain standard and act a certain way. And I couldn't do hip hop anymore, or go to rock concerts and whatever. And there's a few people in Nashville, actually, that I don't even know personally, but helped me with that when I was going through that. And like I said, I don't even know them. But I saw articles about them and videos about them and different things, and they were embracing all sides of themselves. So my path has been to embrace all sides of myself, to help people embrace all sides of themselves. My path is balance, is earthly life with spiritual life, with, spiritual being having an earthly experience, but balancing the seen and the unseen. Metaphysics is a bridge of science and spirituality. That's always been my path, apparently. So yeah, I'm the hip hop and minister, and I can do hip hop in 1 minute and be speaking about spiritual stuff the next. So yeah, just be who you are, because it's just silly to try and be anything else, because when you try to be something other than what you are, you're gonna have things that come out of you. They're gonna act out, and parts of you that are gonna cause problems, and things that are going to be out of alignment, because you aren't being who you are. And so the inside of you and your being just fights back at you, because it's not being allowed to be who it really is. And so it's just what we all need to find, is that inner authority at this point in life and society and history, is really, who are you? And be your own inner authority, and get in touch with what's bigger than you. Because no matter what the heck you believe in, whether it's, God or Buddha or Allah or, whatever, just the greater spirit of love, but something's bigger than you. Nature, something's bigger than you. So whatever that is, find a way to connect with it, and realize that it's not about what it looks like. It's about something bigger than that, and you're a part of that. And find your expression within that, and be free. Be free, man.
Be free. I think that's a great point to wrap up. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you? Because you specifically asked that I don't link anything in the description, so they have to go look you up. So tell people how to look you up.
If anyone's still listening, you can look me up. It's asyoulikeit.com, ITSASYOULIKEIT.com. It's kind of like the Shakespeare play As You Like It, but it's got an it's in front of it with no punctuation. It literally has nothing to do with the Shakespeare play. Again, intuition. I was given that's what your website's going to be. Okay. So that's what it's been for a long time. It's got all my books on it. Of course, you can go to your bookseller of choice, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, whatever, for all my books.
Remind them your name again, since it's not in the description, because you said to put it as Greg's wife.
My professional name is Amanda Dobra Hope. That's what I go by. Dobra and then Hope. So yeah, you can find all that stuff, like I said, on any of the booksellers. I have a YouTube channel. I don't have as many subscribers as Greg, because apparently my stuff's not fun. But it'll help.
Well, have you tried reacting to Nightwish?
No. You know, I've tried to do some of the fun stuff and make personal growth more fun, and it just never really works because it's I'm trying to make it silly or cheesy, and it's like the part of life where you have to just be serious. You know, it's like the part in relationships where you have all the different sides of relationships. You can be fun, you can be funny, you can be silly, but you also have to be serious. You can't
Well,
always be
that's why I've got the talk show, so I can do like some of the more serious stuff and the
right.
Nightwish videos. So why don't you just do your stuff that you're doing and Nightwish videos? Then you'll get all the subs.
I just don't think that's what I'm supposed to do. Um, so I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. But anyway, if you want to have really good relationships with the people around you and yourself, and if you're struggling with anything, the other thing too, just if anybody wants to talk to me, work with me, whatever, I am super chill. I don't know what I've come across like in this interview at all, but I'm so chill. People will come to me, and I'm doing all my stuff by Skype and phone coaching and everything, but people come to me, they're kind of afraid. They don't know what I'm going to be like. They think I'll be stuffy. And within 10 minutes, they're spilling everything. Um, because they've all just said, oh, well, you're really easy to talk to and you're super non judgmental. Um, because my job is to be a space holder. That's why I wrote Holding Space. I'm a space holder. So I am allowing and creating that space for you and helping you discover the answers that are yours to find. I'm just poking around, asking some questions, using my intuition to guide the session to in the right place. Um, I will say that if you're afraid of therapy, I have had almost every person I've ever had come to me say that if they've tried therapy before, that one session with me pretty much did more than like 7 years of therapy. Not to toot my own horn, but just to let you know that, like, if you're afraid of doing that kind of therapy, personal growth, whatever, life coaches, holistic life coaches, myself specifically, I don't spin my wheels. Like, we're not just going to sit there and go over the same crap and go over your story, or be a therapist where you tell everything and then you feel like you've been talking to a wall for, an hour. You're going to actually get stuff done, and you're going to leave feeling like you have a weight off your shoulders and you won't be judged. And yeah, I just approach things with love and respect and honor and care for people to just thrive. So yeah,
All right. Well, thank you so much, Miss Amanda Dobra Hope. Sorry, Mrs. Amanda Dobra Hope, as is the pen name. Um, so yeah, that is the interview. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye, everyone. All right, and here's the outro because the middle was too heavy, and the intro, you're like, we did the intro, let's do an outro. So this is gonna be kind of like my reacceptions where it just gets like really weird with it. So we're getting weird with this episode, but my wife weird like me, so that's cool.
we're getting weirdy with it.
All right, so you said you wanted to talk about Frozen. Did you listen to the Lisa interview yet?
It's on my list. It's totally on my list. See, the thing is I've talked to Lisa and I like Lisa, and so I know you, and now I know Lisa, and so, like, watching that interview is going to just be like talking to people I already know. So I will do it, but it's like I just feel like that one is further on the list only because I already know what it's going to be about. So,
Right.
but
So Frozen or Frozen 2?
Frozen 2.
See, I gotta go Frozen. So we both agreed on Paddington versus Paddington 2, with leaning towards the original. But the household has divided over Frozen and Frozen 2.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, so here's where the truth comes out: Moana or Frozen?
Moana, Frozen. I don't know. Both. Both.
I mean, yeah,
Both.
they're both great. Like, don't get me wrong, like they're both excellent. I mean, clearly not as good as Tangled, either of them. That was
Yeah.
sarcasm.
I know. They're both. Oh, gosh. That's so tough. Um, Both. Yeah.
All right, rank the Xenon trilogy.
I don't even know how we ended up watching that.
Because
Um,
I told you that you would like it. I told you it's about a girl who wants to go to a concert.
yeah, because you keep lying to me. Um, Cetus Lapidus. Anyway, shoot, I don't even remember which ones are which ones. I think it wasn't the last. Didn't I hate the last one?
You weren't as into it because it was the new protozoa.
Oh yeah, and I was mad about that. Okay, so
So really, that's last place. It's basically between one and two. As
yeah, trying to remember because it's been a bit now.
second one is where they like go and talk with aliens. The first one
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah. Second one. Second one.
second one is your number one, then the original, then the third.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. We have ranked the Xenons. We have heard your thoughts on Frozen versus Frozen 2. We've heard your thoughts on Paddington versus Paddington 2. I mean, is there?
Final Fantasy 9.
I do you want to just talk about Final Fantasy 9?
Favorite. Best.
What was that? I couldn't hear you.
It's the best one.
I mean, I think probably from an objective standpoint, I would say it's probably the best one in terms of story, cast, translation, representing the series, gameplay elements. Like if you're only playing one to give you like the experience of the entire series, I would say nine is sort of the best one for that. Um, like I prefer seven personally, which you're not going to like you gave up on that one pretty quickly. Um,
Can we talk about kombucha?
go for it.
It's awesome.
I think it's
If,
gross.
if you don't drink it, you should totally drink it. It's amazing. It comes in a million awesome flavors. But I only drink GTs because it's made the best and doesn't have added sugar. It's just fruit and the kombucha culture and the tea. Um, and it's just really amazing. Good.
I'd say this
And
episode brought to you by GT's Kombucha.
I tried to get them to sponsor my books, but I guess I didn't try hard enough. But if anybody from GTs is listening, yeah, there's a lot of your product in this household. So yeah.
All right. And that's the episode. Bye, Internet.